Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Luscious Hadiza, and this is your favorite channel, Africa Living with Hadiza, your number one go-to channel for everything African, our culture, our tradition, our food, our music, our fashion, and on and on and on it goes. Today, of course, you know what time it is. It is Focus Friday, another opportunity for us to focus on our amazing African heroes, male and female, who have put their back on the line most times for the integrity of our great continent. First of all, I want to thank everyone who has been watching my videos, everyone who has been commenting, engaging, and of course subscribing. I really appreciate you all, and I want to appeal to you to continue to subscribe. Please do subscribe, please do share, please do like. It is so important that we learn our history. It is so important that we know who we are, and that's one of the core goals of this channel. So I want to thank you so much for all your engagements, and I really do hope you continue to like, share, and subscribe. So before we get into the main juice of this video today, I want to bring one or two things to the fore of everything that we're doing here. As this channel grows and we welcome new people to the family, I want this platform to remain a peaceful platform where we seek to educate ourselves from a point of love, a point of genuine love and tolerance one to another. In one of the videos I posted about the Benin culture, if you haven't seen that video, the link will be here. I saw some comments that were rather disturbing. People saying, oh, African culture is demonic, nobody cares about your culture, and these things really rubbed me the wrong way, and I felt I had to address them. First of all, the main core goal of this channel is a platform for education, for the opening of our minds, and for the inspiration of Black melanated people to come into their true identity, their true godship, and their true godhead as the divine spiritual beings that they have been created to be on this planet, and of course to take their place on the world stage. The African race of all the races on this planet is the most disillusioned, impoverished, and economically downtrodden people on this planet. And I believe that this stems from the deep disconnect that exists between who we really are and who we have been told that we are. From time immemorial, African tradition, history, and spirituality has been demonized and hidden. And this prevents a lot of Africans from having a genuine, strong sense of identity in being African and a sense of pride in being African. This starts from the fact that a lot of us have been lied to, conditioned, and brainwashed into believing that nothing good can actually come from Africa. History has been removed from the curriculum of Nigerian schools, and this just shows you the great lengths that people will go to continue to cover up our history. Listen, if it wasn't important, people would not go to this length to hide it from you. Our true identity begins from us knowing who we are. Our true power comes from us knowing who we are. This is why the world and the powers that be, even in our own nation, will continue to go to great lengths to hide our true identity from us, because they understand that the moment we know who we are and our eyes are open, we will not continue to remain downtrodden. We will not continue to take crumbs. They know that we will wake up and demand for the best because we deserve it, and because we know that we are a people of greatness, we are a people of power, we are a people of purpose, and enough is enough of us being downtrodden and the charity case and the pet project of the world. Now, I said all of that to say this. I believe in education. I believe that education is the first step of freedom, because the freeing of the mind is the freeing of the entire being, is the freeing of the entire community, is the freeing of the entire nation. So this platform seeks to educate people on the truth of who they are, on the truth of our history, and on the truth of our traditions and our spirituality. Now, anybody who comes with the ideology of we don't care about your history, we don't want to hear about your history, I am going to block you. My aim is to keep everything I do on this channel respectful and from a point of love. I desire to educate, I desire to uplift, uplift, I desire to teach, and I desire to spread love. I will not on my platform tolerate any form of hate speech, any form of condemnation against Africans. I am not going to tolerate it. I aim to spread love on this channel, and I will not on any ground tolerate negative speech on Africans. I know that hate has never brought anything good, and it will never bring anything good. I believe in love, and that is the only principle that I will continue to project. The only reason we teach history is so that we can learn from our past mistakes, so we don't find ourselves repeating them, so we can start to grow from where we are and become better. This is not about pity party, or this is not about blame games of who did what to whom. The purpose of this channel is for the opening of our eyes, is for true and proper enlightenment, is for the freedom of our mind, is for the freedom of ourselves as people, because this is where true growth begins from. So I said all of that to say this. Please let us continue to keep it cute. Let's continue to keep it classy on this channel. I love you all, and I believe so much. I believe with my life in the African nation that we are some of the most powerful, most privileged people on this planet. What we need to do is start to get our act right, and that starts from knowing who we are. So thank you so much for everyone who is subscribing. Thank you so much to everyone who is joining this family. This is a family of love. This is a family of growth. This is a family of no judgment. Thank you so much for listening. Let's get into the juice of this video. This is a story of a rare individual who had the energy, the ingenuity, and the creativity to turn a small, struggling African country, or maybe even the universe, around. This is a story of Thomas Sankara.
Pays produit suffisamment de quoi nous nourrir. Nous pouvons dépasser même notre production, malheureusement. Par manque d'organisation, nous sommes encore obligés de tendre la main pour demander des aides alimentaires. Ces aides alimentaires qui nous bloquent, qui nous inspirent, qui installent dans nos esprits cette habitude, ces réflexes de mendiants, d'assister. Nous devons mettre de côté ces aides. Par notre grande production, il faut réussir à produire plus. Produire plus. Produire plus parce que il est normal que celui qui vous donne à manger vous dicte également ses volontés. Ne consommons que ce que nous contrôlons. Il y en a qui demandent mais où se trouve l'impérialisme? L'impérialisme, regardez dans vos assiettes quand vous mangez. Les grains de riz, de maïs, de mil importés, c'est ça l'impérialisme, n'allez pas plus loin. N'allons pas plus loin.
Burkina Faso is a landlocked country in Western Africa. According to data from the World Bank, over 40% of the population lives below the poverty line. This means they survive with less than $1.9 a day. In 2021, Burkina Faso ranked 184th country out of 191 on Human Development Index (HDI). HDI measures life expectancy, education, and living standards. In 2017, Burkina Faso produced $2.8 billion worth of gold, for which the government received approximately $300 million only. The remaining $2.5 billion was taken by international gold mining companies or was smuggled out of the country. The population of Burkina Faso is around 20 million people. If Burkina Faso had kept all of its gold money income, each of the 8 million Burkinabes, citizens of Burkina Faso living below the poverty line, would have received an additional $300 a year, and that's only from gold mining. Burkina Faso had a chance to have a decent standard of living. This is the story of how they destroyed that chance. Sankara was born Thomas Noel Isidore Sankara on the 21st of December 1949 in Yako, French Upper Volta, as the third of 10 children to Joseph and Marguerite Sankara. His father, Joseph Sankara, a gendarme, was of mixed Mosi Fulani heritage, while his mother, Marguerite Kanda, was of direct Mosi descent. He spent his early years in Gao, a town in the humid southwest to which his father was transferred as an auxiliary gendarme. As the son of one of the few African functionaries then employed by the colonial state, he enjoyed a relatively privileged position. The family lived in a brick house with the families of other gendarmes at the top of a hill overlooking the rest of Gao. Sankara attended primary school at Bobo Disulaso. He applied himself seriously to his schoolwork and excelled in mathematics and French. He went to church often and impressed with his energy and eagerness to learn. Some of the priests encouraged Thomas to go on to seminary school once he finished primary school. Despite initially agreeing, he took the exam required for entry to the grade 6 in the secular educational system and passed. Thomas's decision to keep on his education at the nearest IC proved to be a turning point in his life. His devout Roman Catholic parents wanted him to become a priest, but he chose to enter the military. The military was popular at the time, having just ousted a despised president. It was also seen by young intellectuals as a potential institution that might help to discipline the inefficient and corrupt bureaucracy, counterbalance the inordinate influence of traditional chiefs, and generally help modernize the country. Besides, acceptance into the military academy will come with a scholarship. Sankara could not easily afford the cost of further education otherwise. He took the entrance examination and passed. He entered the military academy of Kariogo in Ouagadougou with the academy's first intake of 1966 at the tender age of 17. While there, he witnessed the first military coup d'etat in Upper Volta, led by Lieutenant Colonel Sangule Lamizana. The trainee officers were taught by civilian professors in the social sciences. Adama Toure, who taught history and geography and was known for having progressive ideas, even though he did not publicly share them, was the academic director at the time. He invited a few of his brightest and most political students, among them Sankara, to join in formal discussions about imperialism, neo-colonialism, socialism and communism, the Soviet and Chinese Revolution, the liberation movements in Africa, and similar topics outside of the classroom. This was the first time Sankara was systematically exposed to a revolutionary perspective on Upper Volta and the world. Aside from his academic and extracurricular political activities, Sankara also pursued his passion for music and played the guitar. In 1970, 20-year-old Sankara went on for further military studies at the Military Academy of Antsirabe in Madagascar, from which he graduated as a junior officer in 1973. At the Antsirabe Academy, the range of instruction went beyond standard military subjects, which allowed Sankara to study agriculture, including how to raise crops and better the lives of farmers, themes he later took up in his own administration and country. During this period, he read profusely on history and military strategy, thus acquiring the concepts and analytical tools that he would later use in his reinterpretation of Burkinabe political history. Returning to Upper Volta in 1972, he fought in a border war between Upper Volta and Mali by 1974. He earned fame for his performance in the conflict, but years later would renounce the fighting as useless and unjust, a reflection of his growing political consciousness. He also became a popular figure in the capital of Ouagadougou. Sankara was a decent guitarist. He played in a band named Toud Akoub Jazz and Rose a Bicycle. In 1976, he became commander of the Commando Training Center in Po. In the same year, he met Blaise Compaoré in Morocco. During the presidency of Colonel Sey Zerbo, a group of young officers formed a secret organization called the Communist Officers Group. The best-known members being Henry Zongo, Jean-Baptiste Bukari Lingana, Blaise Compaoré, and Sankara. Sankara was appointed Minister of Information in Zerbo's military government in September 1981. Sankara differentiated himself from other government officials in many ways, such as biking to work every day instead of driving in a car. While his predecessors would censor journalists and newspapers, Sankara encouraged investigative journalism and allowed the media to print whatever it found. This led to publications of government scandals by both privately owned and state-owned newspapers. He resigned on the 12th of April 1982 in opposition to what he saw as the regime's anti-labor drift, declaring misfortune to those who gag the people. After another coup on the 7th of November 1982 brought to power Major Dr. Jean-Baptiste Drago, Sankara became Prime Minister in January 1983, but he was dismissed on the 17th of May. In between these 4 months, Sankara pushed Ouedraogo's regime for more progressive reforms. Sankara was then arrested after the French president's African Affairs advisor, Guy Pin, met with Colonel Yorian Some. Henry Zongo and Jean-Baptiste Bukari were also placed under arrest. The decision to arrest Sankara proved to be very unpopular with the younger officers in the military regime, and his imprisonment created enough momentum for his friend Blaise Compaoré to lead another coup. A coup d'etat organized by Blaise Compaoré made Sankara president on the 4th of August 1983 at the age of 33. The coup d'etat was supported by Libya, which was at the time on the verge of war with France in Chad. Sankara saw himself as a revolutionary and was inspired by the examples of Cuba's Fidel Castro and Che Guevara, and Ghana's military leader Jerry Rawlings. As president, he promoted the Democratic and Popular Revolution, or the RDP. His policy was oriented towards fighting corruption and promoting reforestation. On the 4th of August 1984, the first anniversary of his ascension, he renamed the country Burkina Faso, meaning the land of the upright people. He also gave it a new flag and wrote a new national anthem. Sankara's first priorities after taking office were feeding, housing, and giving medical care to his people who desperately needed it. Sankara launched a mass vaccination program in an attempt to eradicate polio, meningitis, and measles. From 1983 to 1985, 2 million Burkinab were vaccinated. Prior to Sankara's presidency, infant mortality in Burkina Faso was about 20.8%. During his presidency, it fell to 14.5%. Sankara began a project of making Burkina Faso self-sufficient in food production. In 3 years, he succeeded. Each person had 2 meals and 10 liters of water a day. Sankara realized the dangers of deforestation, and he ordered over 10 million trees to be planted to prevent the spread of the desert. He forbade wild forest cutting and proposed the creation of wood strips about 50 kilometers wide near the desert to save arable land from desertification. Sankara's government was the first to acknowledge AIDS as a major threat to Africa. Burkina Faso embarked on large rail and road construction projects to improve public infrastructure. Sankara also encouraged education. He invested in new schools and new textbooks. The literacy rate increased from 13% in 1983 to 73% in 1987. He also fought for women's rights, provided them with education, gave them jobs in the military and in the government, and supported pregnancy leaves. Sankara outlawed the mutilation of female genitals, forced marriages, and polygamy. He also created the first supermarket in the country. Sankara started his crusade against neo-imperialism by changing the colonial name of Upper Volta to Burkina Faso, meaning the land of upright people. His government also nationalized all the gold mines as well as other mines in Burkina Faso. He wanted to keep the profits from mining for the Burkinabs. His government opposed foreign aid. He knew that foreign aid and bank loans were just the new but subtler ways of control mechanisms of neo-imperialism. He who feeds you, controls you will forever forever remain one of his popular quotes. Beside being given foreign aid, Sankara stopped repaying the existing debt. Sankara argued that the poor and exploited do not need to repay money to the rich and exploiting. In 1987, Sankara went a step further and asked all African countries to follow Burkina Faso and stop repaying debt to the International Monetary Fund and other banks. Sankara was fully aware the people of Burkina Faso were very poor. Consequently, he fought against the unnecessary luxury of officials and saved money rerouted to building projects. Thomas Sankara sold the government's fleet of Mercedes cars and replaced them with Renault 5, which was the cheapest car in Burkina Faso at the time. He reduced the salaries of government officials, including his own, and his personal wealth was limited to only one car, 4 bikes, 3 guitars, a fridge, and a broken freezer. He didn't use air conditioning in his office, saying that most of Burkinabs didn't have it either. Known for remaining humble, an uncharacteristic trait among pompous and flashy African rulers, he refused for his portrait to be hung in public places. When asked, he said, "There are 7 million Thomas Sankaras in Burkina Faso." 3 months after encouraging Africa to stop repaying debt, Thomas Sankara was assassinated. On the 15th of October 1987, Thomas Sankara's former friend and political ally, Blaise Compaoré, staged a coup d'etat. Thomas Sankara was shot, dismembered, and buried in an unmarked grave. After the murder of Sankara, Compaoré became president of Burkina Faso. He immediately reversed Sankara's policies. Burkina Faso rejoined International Monetary Fund (IMF) and the World Bank and re-established ties with France, Burkina Faso's former colonial masters. The mining operations were privatized. For example, nowadays half of the Burkinese gold production is controlled by Canadian mining mega corporations. Compaoré's dictatorship lasted for 27 years until 2014, when the dissatisfied population rebelled against him. The French helped Compaoré escape to Ivory Coast. In 2021, Compaoré was sentenced in absentia to life in prison for murdering his predecessor, Thomas Sankara. After Compaoré's downfall, the 13 bodies were exhumed in 2015 from a cemetery on the outskirts of the city. Thomas Sankara was finally laid to rest alongside his 12 comrades at the spot of their assassination nearly 30 years ago. Soldiers and community leaders paid tribute during the ceremony at the site in Ouagadougou, which has since become a memorial for the former leader, featuring a life-sized statue of him pumping his fist in the air. All the coffins were draped in Burkina Faso flags with a photo beside them. Thomas Sankara is remembered as a hero to his people and a revolutionary leader who stood up against imperialism as much as he possibly could until his unfortunate demise. Of course, Sankara made a lot of mistakes. He was a human being after all, and every politician makes mistakes. Yet there are politicians who make mistakes while trying to improve the lives of the people, and there are politicians who make mistakes while trying to steal as much as possible from their own people. And Sankara belonged to the group of people who worked hard to make the lives of his people better. However, Sankara tried something dangerous for neo-imperialism: to build a good country without foreign bank loans. If Sankara had been able to eradicate Burkina Faso's poverty without foreign help, this would inspire other African countries to follow in Burkina Faso's lead. African countries would realize the true purpose of the IMF and the World Bank, and the West would lose total control of Africa. Thomas Sankara will always be remembered for saying, "While revolutionaries as individuals can be murdered, you cannot kill ideas." This brings us to the end of our video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have learned something from this inspirational and deeply phenomenal individual called Thomas Sankara. His story will forever be a living testimony to the true resilient African spirit that can never be killed. it is our time to start to wake up to the truth of our society, understand where our true challenges lie, and begin to focus our energy on strategies to overcome these challenges. Thomas Sankara is still remembered by his lovely wife, Mariam Sankara, who is still alive till this day. Thank you so much to everyone who watched. I hope you have learned something, and I look forward to reading your amazing comments. Why does Africa continue to bury their own? Why does Africa continue to believe in a government for a few rather than a government for all? Well, these are the questions I would love for you to answer in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in our next video. Bye.